This week, we battle out the 5 things that have helped us grow our business in the last 25 years, and some of them are more surprising than you can possibly think. Welcome to the Profit Cash Growth Podcast. This is the podcast for 6- and 7-figure business owners who are looking to grow a financially successful business. My co-host, Claire Hancock, is a finance director, chartered accountant, and entrepreneur. And every week, I'll be exploring guidance and frameworks designed to help you increase your profits, improve your cash flow, and grow your business. So, Claire, this week, I have had an email from somebody. Well, actually,
that's hardly breaking news, is it?
But you know how I said email us if you don't think I'm interesting and we need to change the entire format of the podcast? Well, Steve in Glasgow not only emailed, but to say, don't change it, I like it, I think it's really interesting, but also to say, remind Claire that 3 episodes ago, she said that the Clifton Suspension Bridge Museum was interesting, one of the greatest things she's been to. So I think fair's fair. I think Steve's right, don't you?
I think Steve might be a bigger fan of you than me, maybe.
It did make me laugh, but nobody's actually told us to stop doing this. I'm going to carry on doing it. So, a couple of things that I wanted to touch on this week.
Sorry, just before you jump into that, I would like to clarify that I said it was dull. Steve says it wasn't. That's one each. So I don't think that's a resounding carry on yet.
Yeah,
so I think we need to gather a bit more feedback
on
first.
The basis that I don't think your opinion counts because you're not a listener, you're a producer.
I actually listen to this every single Thursday on my drive to work.
That's not true at all. We're going to do something really cool today. We're going to do a full-on battle-off of 5 things that have helped us grow our businesses in the last 25 years, or let's say since the turn of the millennium. And it's a bit of fun, but also bit about understanding the things that kind of move the dial. It's what I would call a reflective episode, isn't it, Claire?
Yeah. Interesting.
Which I think is going to be good. And we haven't shared what each of the things have said. And I said to you, don't be too obvious. Think a bit out of the box. Really think about the things that have made the difference in your business. So I think that we'll find, I don't know about what you've done, but I think we'll find that some of them will be quite generic and some will be very personal, I'm guessing, to our own experiences and everyone else will have that same thing. So I'd implore other people to play along with us as we get to the battle off later today. But first of all, I want to talk about the weather, which has been,
I forgot to say,
El Nino brilliant, isn't it? Now, I was thinking about this the other day when I chowed into the most delicious British tomatoes that I've ever tasted the other week, that one thing we should be very thankful about with the wild weather in Britain is the quality of the food is just insane, isn't it? Strawberries, tomatoes, just all of a sudden, all that British produce is just coming to harvest and it just tastes amazing.
Well, it is the time of year, but I think you're missing the point that actually there is going to be no great British harvest this year because it's been so dry. So I think that you're probably relying on a lot of artificial farming, a lot of artificial watering, probably UV light.
Well, tomatoes are just sort of in greenhouses and when it's hotter.
Well, it's just the time of year though, isn't it?
When it's really hot, isn't it?
What a random thing to say.
I've just never tasted them so good, but this is also the week that Alan Sugar got refused to raise his credit card limit by American Express. Did you see this?
I loved this, yeah.
Yeah, it was just interesting that as one of the richest men in the UK, apparently with a net worth of about 1.1 billion, American Express refused to raise his credit limit any higher. And it all sort of blew up, didn't it?
I wonder if they have continued to refuse to raise his credit limit after it hit social media, or whether some intelligent person somewhere got involved and said, it's a bit stupid that we're not doing this.
Yeah, we ought to, quash this pretty quickly.
But it just goes to show, anybody, particularly businesses, when you're trying to get finance, one no doesn't mean no. Just keep going. Yeah.
I would imagine that if he moves bank to bank, he'll probably get the credit that he needs.
I imagine he was inundated with banks and people offering him services. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might have been a good thing for him in the long term. And then the final thing I saw this week, this is shocking. We've done a lot of episodes on the wage compression gap in the past. This phenomenon that because we've artificially pumped up the minimum wage, that the gap between kind of the entry level and the more middle management levels has just got smaller and smaller. And it's like people are going to have this attitude of why bother, and like the skill gap is going to get smaller. And this really, really hit home this week when Aldi, who are opening a brand new Aldi supermarket in Matlock, put up a great big billboard advertising for all of the different people that they needed. And it started at the bottom with the store cleaner, advertised at £13.12, right up to the deputy store manager at £14.75.
Jesus.
So just over £1.50 an hour more to go from the store cleaner to the deputy store manager. And in the middle of that, there was the stock assistant at £13.12 and the store assistant at £13.50.
So what's the gap in the top to the bottom?
So from
£1.50?
Cleaner to deputy store manager is about £1.65, something like £1.60.
So that's going to be like £11
What's that,
a day.
Extra?
So it's going to be like £11 a day.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like £3,000 extra a year.
Yeah.
It's not enough, is it?
It's really, really, really kind of caused a lot of debate online about this, about just how like crazy is it? Like who wants the responsibility to be a deputy store manager rather than a cleaner? You just come in, you clean some stuff, you go home. You don't take any baggage home with you. You don't make decisions. You don't where's the compensation for the skills involved in having to make decisions and take accountability for things within that store?
It's the headspace that it takes up in your personal life. You know, I can't imagine a cleaner goes home and dwells too much on decisions that they've made that day, or like is pondering the one-to-one that they've got to have with a team member the next day or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas that is what you do when you take on more responsibility, is those thoughts often weigh heavy on you. Not all the time, but often they do weigh heavy on you, and you dwell on things that you've done and you wonder whether you've made the right decision. And I think that's just not, people are not being compensated properly for that in their life at the moment.
I think it's a massive problem. I think that's the most starkest example that I've ever seen yet of that. And I just don't know where that sort of ends, because the why bother aspect is very, very apparent there. I mean, other than the fact that there's a level of you probably don't want to be a cleaner, but versus if it's the gap between that and the store assistant. To be a store assistant, you're basically getting, what's that, 38p an hour more.
I guess the argument would be
and a store assistant, that
if you're a store assistant, you probably get to sit down on the checkouts. Maybe it's seen as a bit of an easier job. So therefore, I don't know, but you know, there's not enough runs to the ladder that make it worth pushing and worth trying to be better and trying to strive for more, is there?
No, the question that I have for Aldi that's really interesting is like, what quality are they getting for that £14.75 to be their second in command of something that probably turns over millions and millions of pounds?
Well, if they do that, they're very reliant on having a fantastic store manager and regional managers and processes and procedures, which in a massive company is fine.
Yeah.
As long as you've got really, really well-written processes and procedures. But to be honest, we've all been into an Aldi and they're not the most glamorous of places. I think they're very functional.
Yeah.
But you don't go in there maybe expecting exceptional service and, exceptional quality. Maybe it fits okay with the brand.
Interesting one. Okay, well, let's see what's on this week's News Story of the Week. So this week, the news story that I've picked out, which I think a lot of people have probably seen this, the headline was Mars bar from the 1990s found during house clearance. Have you seen this story?
No, I have not seen this, and I'm a Mars bar fanatic, so I'm quite surprised I haven't seen this.
So this has been all over the news, but I particularly picked it up on the BBC. So a house cleaning company, well, they're like a house clearance company, went into a hoarder's house type thing, and they found a unopened Mars bar from 1991. And the story is that the unopened Mars bar is now, we all know about shrinkflation, but I think it just hit home much harder when they picked it up and they put the two side by side. And this thing looked like a Kit Kat Chunky versus like a normal Kit Kat. It was like twice space. It's 56% bigger.
Wow. So
that's the sort of size difference. But I ran some other numbers on this, which I just thought was really interesting because obviously, yes, it's 56% bigger, but obviously it's significantly more expensive. So I was trying to work out here that in the UK, a Mars bar is 62.5 grams, cost 25p in 1991. Got that?
Yeah.
Today, the Mars bar shrunk to 40 grams and it costs £1.20. Okay.
God, is that how much a Mars bar is?
Yeah, in Tesco. So in cash terms, it's roughly about 5 times the price. So adjusted for inflation, that 25p would be worth about 70p in today's money. So a couple of things interesting. Already, actually, it's not grown with inflation, the price of it. It's grown by more than inflation, because even if you just track the 25 pence, it would be 70 pence today, not 120. But let's not forget, this has shrunk by 56%. Because it's gone from 62.5 grams to 40 grams. So I worked out what the actual increase of that Mars bar was since 1991, and it's 750% increase by the gram, taking into account the price increase and the size decrease. Yet the cumulative inflation, government listed from 1991 to 2026, is about 179%.
But
Does
Simon,
that stagger you?
I always say I'm a numbers person.
Yeah.
You've got to look behind the numbers because you're just taking average inflation. It's like saying the average cost across my business has gone up by X amount, so I don't need to have a look.
They take a basket of goods and it's not fair and all the rest of it.
So it's like taking your P&L and saying overall my costs have gone up by 2%, which is roughly in line with inflation, so I don't need to look any deeper. But that's not the case. When you look deeper, you find out that individual elements have gone up and some have gone down. And that's the case with chocolate. We know that cocoa in particular has been massively hit by what's happening with global warming and international supply chain and things like that. So obviously that's a massive part of it. We've had UK energy prices in particular and European energy prices massively inflated over the last few years, and we've had additional taxes like packaging taxes, employment taxes.
Absolutely.
So therefore,
all those things.
All of the things that impact Mars bars in particular, I think they've been quite unlucky. And obviously Cadbury's got sold to do they get sold to Kraft and then Mondelez?
I don't know.
I think it was Kraft Foods, and then maybe Kraft Foods became Mondelez or sold to Mondelez or something. So yeah, then there's been a couple of sales as well, and I'm sure they've got expensive interest to pay for now. So I'm not surprised.
What I always find really staggering about this is I always bring it back to housing, because housing is always the debate that people are most disgusted about. Let's say they're disgusted that, if you take a house from 1991, that a house has gone up about 450% since 1991, right?
Not as much as Mars bars though.
Well, this is my point. Yes, that's more than quote unquote general inflation, again, when we look at this, but we always say, that they've become really unaffordable and blah, blah, blah. But look at the Mars bar, it's up 750%. Now, is the issue that these things are going up in price, or is the issue that people's wages aren't going up in price, which is probably the core factor here, isn't it? Whenever you look back at it, it's always down to this drag on wage inflation and everything else, not that one particular product or housing or whatever else is particularly grown faster than inflation, because they've all grown faster than inflation. So, it makes me question the inflation number, because I scarcely ever see them, but I guess it gets balanced off by the fact that when you do that comparison on a TV, for example, it will have dropped by thousands of %, wouldn't it?
No, I've got an uninteresting little story about Mars bars.
And see what
When I was in primary school, our school play was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was like the big annual one that the whole entire school gets involved in. It was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I hated drama. So I was an extra. I was just a crowds person. But instead I took on the job of selling snacks to the audience.
Okay.
So made a little tray that I could tie around my neck and stuff. And the whole point was that we were supposed to sell the products at the price that they would have been in the era of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah. So we were supposed to sell the Mars bars at 8p, but I didn't have enough 2p's left. So I upped the price to 10p and I made loads more money.
Nice.
Nobody cared because everybody wanted Mars bars.
Yeah.
Because they were just so popular.
Supply and demand, isn't it?
Yeah. So I managed to I probably doubled my profit just by increasing the price by 2p.
Crazy.
I was always a little entrepreneur, wasn't I?
Yep. So there we go. Mars bars, watch out. 700. Who would have thought you're paying 750% more on a like-for-like basis for a Mars bar today than you were in 1991?
It's worth every penny. A Mars bar is a tremendous little chocolate bar.
It's definitely at that level of price. It's definitely now a treat, isn't it? It is a luxury and a treat.
No.
Well, in 1991, if it's gone up 750%, your wages have probably gone up 50%. It's very much a treat and a luxury, isn't it? It's gone into the stratosphere of value versus exchange for money compared to 1991.
Look, not the rate that I eat Mars bars. They are not classed as a treat. It's just an everyday essential
All right,
now.
Look, let's not start the battle off early and let's move on to this week's deep dive. So, Claire, this week we're going to do a battle off. It's the 5 things that have helped us grow our businesses since the turn of the millennium or in the last 25 years. Now, I've said the last 25 years because I didn't want this to become really boring and for us to sort of end up going electricity.
Cars.
Or, the big things that like
Internet.
I tried to be a bit more specific and we're not going to get tit for tatty as to whether it was invented then or whatever. I think if that thing happened in the last 25 years or mass adoption happened or something like that, then we'll take it as a win in the battle off. And again, I'm sure you've picked yours personally to your businesses as I picked it personally to my businesses and my experiences. So, questions?
Now, we're not doing this just for fun, are we? Because actually there was...
Excuse me?
Doing this made me realise where I need to be focusing moving forward. I've got very specific topics that make me realise what makes my business successful and therefore where me as a CEO, as an MD, where my focus needs to be. And of course, none of these are the day-to-day grind. And it's just that reminder every time of what matters, what could sink or swim in your business.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, I'd urge everybody out there just to do this, just for 10, 15 minutes, just sit down and have a think about this, because it just really makes you realise what could have a catastrophic impact on your business if it was suddenly pulled out from under your feet.
Okay, if you invert, as Charlie Munger would say, if you invert this and say, if I didn't have this, what would happen to my business? In fact, we'll talk about that as we go through. By the sound of it sounds like we're going to have gone down very different tracks with this. So this is fascinating.
Oh, okay.
I'm dead looking forward to this because there are no rules and like you can go where you want with it. I've got some obvious stuff and some not so
You go
obvious
first.
stuff. No. I think you go first because then I think there might also be some overlap. So if we overlap, I'll just throw mine in at that point and we'll talk about it as one. So what's your number one for you?
For me, I've got LinkedIn.
I can see why you would say that.
I pretty much LinkedIn is like our number one marketing channel. I personally spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Yeah. I enjoy LinkedIn. It's where I find out about people's businesses, get the leads from. And I feel actually, when I look at this, I'm like incredibly grateful that we've got this free platform where businesses are. Like, that would have been so difficult to get. Before the millennium, you would have had to have gone to events and sat in rooms of people. And don't get me wrong, you can't beat some face-to-face events, but not with the kind of reach that I get on LinkedIn. It's been game-changing for my business.
I think it's interesting because I don't think there's a very, very specific saying that I see a lot now, mainly because I've been doing a lot about scaling software companies because it's, again, we started from scratch and for context, we've never really bought our way into any of our businesses. We started from zero, literally from zero. I think LinkedIn is an incredible tool to get you off the ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's free. It costs you nothing but effort and time. So therefore, it's really, really good for bootstrapping a business to where it needs to get to.
However, with PCG, we're at the stage where, we pay 5 figures to go to certain events and we go to big trade shows and we sponsor events and things like that and we do paid ads, but we still put time and effort into LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just for bootstrapping. I actually think there's a place for it. As long as LinkedIn stays largely what it is now from an ecosystem, I think I'll use LinkedIn forever. I
think what's interesting though is they say you have to, at the beginning, this is the saying that's I'm seeing a lot now, which is you have to do the things that are not scalable at the beginning to get your business going, but you won't be doing them long term because they're not scalable. Actually, LinkedIn is not very scalable. It relies on the founder. It relies on lots of commenting. It's actually hugely time energy sapping, and actually it's not a scalable. You walk away from your business, it can't continue.
But I disagree because where we are, like with Spread, for example, the software company, where we're trying to get that off the ground, we celebrate if we're getting over like a couple of thousand engagements a week, whereas in PCG I'm getting like 5-figure, 6-figure engagements every single week. So I would argue that the longer you do it, the more scalable it is because so many people are now seeing my posts.
No, that's true, but we know that if you stop doing that for 2 weeks, you reset the dial and it would take 12 months to get the effort back into it would be immense.
But as long as you're consistent and you keep the machine moving, I actually would argue that it is scalable because your audience gets bigger, your reach gets bigger, your reputation gets bigger, your brand gets bigger.
But it's not scalable because it can't work on autopilot. It requires a person.
Yeah, but so many things in my business do require a person. So that for me doesn't rule it in or out.
Interesting. Interesting. I agree with it though.
So
really
what's your
do.
number one, Simon?
Well, I'm going to start with should I start with the dead obvious things and work to the more nuanced things,
Go
or
on then.
throw in the curveball right?
Just go with whatever you feel.
I've just got to say a smartphone. I use an iPhone, but it's the birth of the smartphone. I mean, I literally am able to run my business from anywhere. I have apps all over it. Just like everything that I do on my phone. I use the phone as a business tool, and that's the difference, isn't it? Is that with a smartphone, you can use it 99% as a social tool. You could sit there and scroll TikTok for all day and never use it for business. Or business people can use it 99% for business reasons and minimal for social reasons. So the beauty with the smartphone is that it's so adaptable to everyone. It's one of the most amazing business tools that have ever been invented. And so much has come on the back of it.
I'm genuinely considering getting one of the little mini Samsung fold-out phones now, because I'm thinking I could do with a slightly bigger screen. But yes, I totally agree with you.
Quick question. Do you trust the numbers your accountant sends you? Or in fact, are they even sending you what you need at all? If your business turns over £1 million or more, you're already in the top 10% of UK companies. But here's the problem. Most accountants are built for the other 90%. They're built for compliance, not for businesses making big decisions on tight margins. So if you've stopped trusting your numbers enough to make confident decisions, head over to profitcashgrowth.com and book a discovery call. Let's get your business back in the room with people who actually understand it.
One of my next ones on here, so we're going to segue nicely into that, is actually Claude Code. And I sat on the sofa last night, wasn't feeling very well, sat on the sofa last night with my phone doing some coding through Claude Code.
So the two things linked together.
It's absolutely insane what you can now do on a smartphone. But yeah, so number 2 for me is Claude Code. Obviously, this has only become mainstream in the last year or so. And honestly, if you'd asked me 12 months ago, did I think that I'd be designing software, building our own reporting portals? We've now got an internal portal for managing all of our deadlines and workflows and everything like that. It's just absolutely insane, some of the things that I've been building. And I've always had an interest in tech and software and been very heavily involved in development, but I've never actually written any code in my life before this. So yeah, I think from my business, Claude Code and what we've been able to build, because of the type of service that we offer, more premium for larger businesses that can't have cookie cutter stuff, Claude Code has been invaluable.
Yeah, I can see how it's incredible for your business because your business is so bespoke, is what I would say. And actually, when we talk about things being scalable, actually you're... I'm not going to say it's not scalable, because it is. It's very scalable, but it has to have nuances for every business, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the challenge that we have with every piece of software and every process that we try and put in place is that the businesses that we work with are so different. And so we can't force anybody to work in our models. We can't force anybody to work with our reports or anything like that. It really does need to be unique to ensure that that business isn't stunted because we insist on this process must be followed. PCG just doesn't work like that.
No, it's a premium service. Is a premium price product. That comes with nuances.
And therefore, we found it really difficult to get off the shelf software, things like reporting portals, things like operational, in accountancy firms, a lot of people have it's called practice management, manages your workflows, your deadlines, what the team are doing. We just can't get that stuff off the shelf to work for the type of business that we are. So with I genuinely use the word blessed. That is how I feel, completely blessed that we've got Claude Code and we've now got the opportunity to just get exactly what we want.
Well, you're now thinking about it in reverse, which is, can you imagine if that hadn't come along in the last 3 years, where your business would be now and what you'd be doing? You'd be still trying to fit square plugs into round holes.
I would probably be trying to build a spreadsheet that did it.
Yeah.
And a spreadsheet will only ever go so far because, it would, and then it would probably be somebody's job. As we got bigger, at the moment it's manageable. That spreadsheet, probably 5-10 minutes a day of updating it, not a big job. But as we got bigger, I can imagine that it would become somebody's full-time job to sit and do that and manage deadlines and make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do and we're aware of everything that's happening.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna just jump straight on that because I've written Claude, but I'm going to take a slightly different track because obviously I've not gone so much down the software and coding aspect. I'm going to say Claude from a thought partner perspective. The biggest thing that I've had from Claude in the time that I've had it, it's become my thought sparring partner. No matter whatever my challenge is, I can go and challenge my biases, my thoughts with an expert in that field. And that has been game changing. So, for example, one of the big areas we've done it when we launched the software company is in things like SEO and the optimization of language to be able to get people organically to the product, which has been unbelievably successful. Unbelievably. I mean, who would have thought that we could generate 10 highly qualified intent buyers that want to convert on a monthly basis within a handful of months? Usually that work
from
takes
SEO.
Usually that work takes years.
Yeah.
And
an expensive person.
Definitely wouldn't have been out. Now, I've had to do all the work myself, but I definitely wouldn't have understood what I was doing or where I was going if I couldn't challenge that with that sparring partner and that thought partner. It's not going to do the work for me, but it's going to help me understand what the work is that I should be doing. And that's the difference.
And the technical of how to do it.
The
so
coaching,
you actually...
the training, the technical of how to do it. Yeah, all those
actually, if you'd had to teach yourself SEO, that probably would have taken a couple of months of reading, maybe doing a course or something.
I'd have done it via YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'd have done it via podcast and I've done it via a book. And I would have done it because I learned Google Ads 3 years ago. Not a problem. Facebook Ads 5 years ago. But I use books. And
it's slower.
It's slightly slower. Claude's just faster. It's not completely game changing compared to a book, but it really breaks it down for you. So that's my use of Claude. But I do agree with yours as well, because obviously I've written some software as well for our sales pipelines, and that's been great as well. But go on then.
Okay.
Next one.
So my number 3 is another tech one,
and getting more nuanced here.
It is it's kind of it's 2 in 1, but I'm saying Xero. And more importantly, when Xero opened up their AI in 2014. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk.
I've just
Simon's just held his piece of paper up and it says Xero on it.
Why the freaking hell would I have Xero on my list, Claire?
Yes. Well, I mean, Xero obviously underpins our entire software business, but talking about PCG in particular is the open AI. Now, basically what that means is that you can connect apps to Xero. And this has opened up a world of possibility because now we're back into those realms, as I was talking about with Claude Code, of customization. Don't like the way you process invoices in Xero, get a different app. Don't like the reporting tool in Xero, get a different app. And this has really allowed us to cherry pick the very best pieces of software that our customers want to work with, our team want to work with. And out the back of that, software like Dex, like Apron, all of these invoice processing pieces of software that just allow massive, massive levels of automation and great reporting. And none of this would be possible if the API was not open.
Yep, if they didn't have a totally open source. And this, for different businesses, they'll have different things. Somebody who's in e-commerce will say Shopify because of their bolt-on apps and the way they can customize that.
Yeah, exactly.
Xero's the same thing. What a great invention. I just can't believe you said that because we have not discussed this. I thought that was my curveball that would have thrown you because you're like, why have you said that? Because fundamentally, spread software only exists and can only exist because Xero was invented in the last 25 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We've built a
open
business
APIs
on the back of only Xero by creating software that plugs into Xero. So for me, one of the greatest things that have grown our business is Xero. I mean, it's only been available. Our business is only available because of that in that particular instance. That's why I picked Xero for mine. Different reasons, but same. Interesting, because people are really down on Xero at the moment, and both of us have just naturally give great reasons for...
Look, what I would say is obviously Xero is our software of choice. I think we need to think higher level, and it's the concept. So, because other businesses will be listening to this and probably, they could have any piece of accounting software as far as they're concerned. And it's probably true, but there probably is for every business, like you just gave the example of Shopify, there probably is for every business some sort of critical piece of software that underpins their business on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
And if that's not got an open API on it, I'd make you consider whether you're with the right piece of software.
Yeah. Yeah, we're past the world of closing everything down and protecting it like Apple do.
In a little box with fixed features, fixed workflows, etc., etc. Yeah.
Okay, number 4.
I have got podcasting on here. Now,
right. I mean, this episode just feels like it's been absolutely curated and we have not discussed this, but that helps with my one as well. Now, I've not picked the same, but...
I've actually got a couple of reasons why I put podcasting
as in
here.
Delivering podcasts.
Well, I've got 2 things. I've got delivering podcasts. Back in sort of 2015, before 2015 era, if you wanted to launch a podcast, it was a very technical thing. It's a bit like trying to produce a TV show. You had to understand how to get it on the platforms. Uploading it to Apple iTunes was different to putting it on Spotify and YouTube, etc., etc. So it was very technical. editing, multi-platforms, you need to understand RSS feeds and things like that. Then in around 2015, all these software packages started coming out, like Podbean, Buzzsprout, all of these types of things that just allow you to really easily edit and publish podcasts, and really opened it up. Now, that's obviously been very valuable for our business in terms of, we do the podcast for marketing purposes as well as general enjoyment. But also, I think some of my best business ideas and moment of clarity have come from podcasts, and the fact that ecosystem is now so open to so many different thought leaders. And I'm not somebody that likes to sit and read. I just get bored too easily. Whereas these short, when I'm driving to the office 15 minutes or in the gym or walking around the supermarket or something like that, I love having a podcast in my ear. And just some of the ideas, including the entire idea to launch Spread as a business, came from a podcast.
Yeah, I think, I totally agree with you. And I wrote podcasting, and then I went one deeper. I thought, podcast as general I agree. But I also wrote YouTube, because I think actually goes hand in hand since those two have come along. It's self-education, isn't it? Right. And thought conversation, self-education, all that type of thing. But actually the one I picked is AirPods. And that's because AirPods for me are the convenience enabler that allows me to pipe that education into my ears at the most efficient and maximum frequency per day while I'm doing other things.
Right.
And it's completely changed the game.
Do you really think AirPods that much? Because I would challenge you.
AirPods have changed my life. They have changed my life. They live in my ear for hours a day. Hours. From phone calls to podcasts to now, the newest one, because I've got the noise cancelling ones, just to drown people out. I have earpods in for large parts of the day with nothing playing on them.
Okay. I mean,
which helps me focus, helps me think. I think that AirPods are the enablers. AirPods are the iPhone. Podcasting is an app. And that's the way I look at it. For me, the AirPod is, and we know that this is the same for lots of people, because do you remember the stat we said about the AirPods have a greater revenue than the GDP of most countries? That one product alone. It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of AirPods, actually.
That's just because you've got small ears and they hurt you. That's different. So you've never.
But even in the gym, I can't listen through AirPods because they just bloody fly out my ears all the time. I need like proper rubber jaybirds in my ears. But
you couldn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure I resonate with this as much, because I just think,
would I? Your ear, of course, you're not going to resonate with.
I do most of my listening when I'm driving. And also, would I still listen to stuff like if I was on a walk or something like that? Would I still listen to stuff with wired headphones? Yes, I would.
Hey, you drive for 28 minutes a day. How much
in
are you
total?
Yeah,
that's not one podcast on 1.5 speed.
Well, I know, but I probably listen to 5 hours of podcasts a day because of AirPods. When I'm stretching for 45 minutes in the morning, so I'm doing stretching, I'm listening to AirPods. I'm in the gym for an hour and 15 minutes, listening to podcasts, AirPods. If I'm sitting at night and you've got crap on the TV, I've got my AirPods and I'm listening. I can just take the learning, the training, the education everywhere with me all the time. And it's just piping into me. So for me, it's like, it's not the AirPod, it's what the AirPods enabled, and the AirPods enable fast learning, constant pushing those thoughts into you. And for me, that's where my choice is AirPods. And this is personal, so we're all entitled to our own view. Right, we're on the final one, and this one for me is my slight curveball, but absolutely key.
Now, I'm not sure I would have put this one on here if we didn't have our podcaster topic last week.
Okay.
But I've actually put on here the apprenticeship levy. Okay. And people in my business are so important. We're a service-based business, but if we don't have good people that our customers like and deliver excellent service, but also are really technically skilled people, then I don't really have a business. And the apprenticeship levy, in terms of being able to attract and retain staff, because we can train accountants on the apprenticeship levy. And when I first got into the world of accountancy and was doing my studies, this was reserved for if you wanted an apprenticeship or you wanted your training covered by business, you had to go into a big business. But the fact that I can start a business like PCG and attract people that want to study to be accountants is absolutely game changing. And actually, it's not just that, because I was speaking to one of my team members about doing some AI training on the apprenticeship levy as well. So the fact that we've got that available and that we can compete on a retention and attracting the right staff, we can now compete with big companies. I think that as a standalone will prove in the long term to be game changing for the business.
Yeah, I agree. I think we said on last week's episode that it's the biggest hidden secret out there of free money, and training and upskilling is a complete enabler of people's businesses. So the more people that they can get to do that, the greater their business is going to grow. Your people and your business relies so heavily on qualifications. It's just so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my business is really difficult, and we've just put another job advert out because we're constantly growing. But it's like we always say, you need to have two things. You need to be technically sound, because you work with multiple businesses. You can't just have this very narrow set of technical accounting knowledge. You need to understand complex scenarios and have experienced a lot. But you then also must be really commercially savvy and system savvy and process savvy and operationally savvy. And those two things are really difficult. So actually, when we're recruiting people, we favour the latter one. And then we think we can train for accounting. So we never take a complete junior with no experience. But if somebody doesn't yet have the rubber stamp of a qualification, we would, if they were right in every other way, we would take them and then train them.
Okay. Interesting. This is where we definitely not converged, because my final one is COVID-19. It's been probably, the best saying here is, some of the best gifts come badly wrapped. And COVID-19, the more I unwrap this, has had so many positive impacts on my businesses that it's insane. So first of all, it led to a massive rally in the housing market, which led to huge profits in my estate agency, which we were then able to funnel back into other business ventures, other investments, and various things like that. So that business did extremely well. Secondly, we obviously had bought quite a lot of properties through our property portfolio, and the COVID-19 jumped the property market by about 25-30%. So it gave us a massive cushion of equity in our entire property portfolio that protect us from the future of inflation, what's happening in the market now around stagnation and various other things. So it gave us a massive, massive cushion around that. Also gave us an ability to remortgage those properties, to then leverage that debt to put back into businesses to grow businesses, which was incredible. It led to rampant inflation, which has devalued all of the debt, which is in the millions for us. So it's reduced the value of our debt hugely through very high inflation over the last few months. I put stamp duty holiday, but that was happened and fueled the property market even more. And then the final part of that is the rampant increase in cloud technologies in general, which I think's probably helped everyone's businesses, but it's definitely helped our businesses, because again, we have a cloud technology business, cloud software business. So for me, COVID-19, for huge volumes of people, I think COVID-19 was, it's a 50-50. You speak to some business owners and they were made in COVID-19. Their business was invented, it was made, they exist because of that period of time. And you speak to the other 50% and it killed them. Now, and it's a very interesting time.
Thinking back to making this useful is COVID-19, obviously, we can't replicate COVID-19 unless we're going to open up our own little Chinese lab.
Exactly.
But what I'm hearing when you're saying to me is that actually rampant, sudden, unexpected economic growth.
Yes.
And
be ready for it.
I think this is actually a really interesting point around what businesses think they want versus what actually can be that fairy dust, because I think a lot of businesses would actually say, I want steady, consistent growth year on year. The problem with that is you don't get these once in a lifetime opportunities, like you've just said, of this, all of a sudden we were swimming in money. We had massive profits coming out of the business. We had a massive opportunity to release loads of equity. And those two things combined really took a gigantic leap forward in terms of our financial situation.
I mean, also because of the knowledge around it, because of my knowledge in the property market and being close to, not only did all those things happen in the business and the property, but we even sold our own house. Because our own house jumped 50k overnight because of the stamp duty holiday, because I'm in the industry. And we saw an opportunity to say, right, sell that, downsize, take the equity out and do something different with it. So I think possibly the lesson is that just because something bad's happening doesn't mean there's not an opportunity to be seized in there.
But I think it's
and
also
you can get wrapped up in the negativity if you're not careful about it, I guess.
It's also more about this pursuit of, and as a numbers person, I would say, like, if you're trying to, most businesses want predictability. We want to know what our growth's going to be. We want to know what our profit's going to be. And of course, nobody's ever going to turn down a stonking year with loads of upside. But actually, would you take that situation again of that 1 year of humongous upside, humongous profit, humongous value, and then the next 4 or 5 years of stagnation? Would you prefer that, or would you prefer consistent small growth every year?
Now you're asking it. This is why thinking time is so important. Because if you'd have asked me that before I'd done this podcast just now, I'd have said I'd take the steady growth. But now I've just processed and had this conversation about what we've just said. I've just realised that what we've done is we've pulled forward 5 years of benefit by having access to that capital 5 years earlier to put into different things to leapfrog yourself forward. So actually, I'd take the latter. And that's why when I go back to, just to wrap this whole podcast together, when I talk about Claude and your sparring partner, your thought partner, when I talk about having time away from businesses to really think and process things, you've talked about this as well. It's absolutely pivotal between the to the outcome of the decisions you make and the directions you go, because you can think one thing because you've just not processed it well.
Yeah.
And actually it could mean something totally different.
The risk is in that situation, isn't it, is that you look at that windfall, and there is a thing of make hay when the sun shines, isn't there? And we did a really good job of like making hay like you could not imagine, and then all of a sudden we had like a hay empire because we really focused on how we make that hay multiply, grow quick. Yeah. Whereas if you are just looking at this and you're like, oh, I'm just going to make a bumper profit this year and then it's all going to, and we'll go on a nice holiday and we'll get a new car and we'll maybe upgrade our house. Slightly different situation, isn't it? But if you're like us and you've got maybe fingers in several little pies and you're thinking on that bigger picture of,
you can move stuff around,
you can really make a significant, like probably in the last 5 years our wealth has maybe gone up like 3 times,
836%.
No,
that's genuinely but that's what COVID's probably done, an 800% increase.
It's been game changing. And it's not COVID itself, it was the rapid economic growth.
Things that came out of it. I think the thing that I've learned across everything in business is that I don't think that steady, even growth exists. It's not a thing. I mean, we're on our fourth business and there's no such thing. You have years that you earn and you have years that you learn. And that's it.
So, Simon, I loved doing this exercise, actually, because this reaffirmed for me that I am doing the right job that my business needs right now.
Okay.
So in my business, as MD, I'm trying as much as possible to step out of the operational stuff. I've had a few challenges, but we seem to be back on the right sort of path now. But my job I'm no longer an FD, I'm an MD. And what that means is I'm doing sales and marketing.
Yeah.
I have self-proclaimed myself the head of AI and tech because that's my passion project.
Head of recruitment.
And leadership.
Yeah.
And the 5 things that I picked coincidentally sit in those 3 pillars. So we've got LinkedIn and podcasting, that's all about marketing and sales and lead generation, business development.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Xero Open AI and Claude Code, that's all about tech and AI and operational efficiencies. And then we've got the apprenticeship levy, which is about leadership, attracting and retaining the right people. So I found this really cathartic to know that I am focusing on my job title says that I am focusing on the right things, and I just need to be incredibly strict with myself and make sure that that is what I do.
Good. I agree. Let's move on to this week's Profit Cash Growth Extra. So, Claire, this week we're going to put a TV show out there, aren't we? What have we been enjoying?
We're a little bit late to the party because this has been out quite a few years now.
In fact, they're just covering COVID-19, funnily enough, in the programme. But it's been really good on Apple TV.
The morning show with Jennifer Aniston and
Reese Witherspoon. It's
brilliant. They're like morning show anchors on the biggest sort of, it's almost like the equivalent of, what's the ITV one with Suzanne Reid?
Don't know. I think we're probably...
Good Morning Britain. Is that what it's called? It used to be GMTV. And then before that, what was it?
Daybreak?
Daybreak?
On the same level. I think everyone's probably already aware of this. I think we are probably really late to the party because this was like the first thing Apple TV ever brought out. And we've just for whatever reason, we've scooted past it and watched everything else. But it's absolutely sensational. It's like season 1 was like up there with Succession for me. It was just so, to their last episode of season 1. Oh my goodness. And we're only just starting season 2 and there's 4 seasons. So
what's really interesting, if you haven't seen this, it starts in like the Me Too era. So the male anchor on the show gets accused of doing all sorts of things, and that's kind of the opening episode, but it's like the fallout and the aftermath of that, but it's got Succession vibes to it. It's absolutely brilliant, so do check it out if you haven't already.
TV, the morning show.
If you haven't already, just get a blooming Apple subscription. Apple TV is the best streaming subscription you can have. Such good quality on there.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us for another week's podcast. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. I think this was a very thoughtful and reflective episode, exactly what we were hoping it's going to be, very different to what we usually do. And please rate, review and subscribe. If you feel like you might have outgrown your accountant or you don't feel like you trust your numbers anymore, get in touch with Claire and the team at Profit Cash Growth. It's profitcashgrowth.com, and you book a discovery call there, and she'll have a chat with you about how they could help your business out. And as always, we will see you again next week.